Good evening and welcome to Thames Valley's Kindergarten Information Night. My name is Lynn Griffith-Jones, and as Superintendent of Student Achievement, I have the pleasure to lead the kindergarten team and our board. We are so pleased that you have joined us this evening. We know that many parents have worries about sending their children to school for the first time. This evening is designed to ease your anxiety by answering your questions while giving you an opportunity to look around one of our Thames Valley classrooms, and you will see a play-based learning environment that promotes learning and development through experimentation, a place where your child will discover new friends, build social skills, and experience the natural curiosity that early child education brings. You'll also hear from parents like yourself whose children entered kindergarten for the first time this year. And we are excited to be able to introduce to you our team of educators who will support your child and will show you the exciting world of kindergarten that awaits your child this fall. Before I introduce the team to you, our Director of Education, Mark Fisher, would like to personally welcome you as your journey begins here at Thames Valley.
Hi, I'm Mark Fisher, Director of Education at the Thames Valley District School Board. As a father of two, I know how exciting kindergarten can be for parents. It's the start of a wonderful new chapter, but for some, it can also bring uncertainty. You may be concerned about your child making friends or doing well in school. At Thames Valley, we want to ease your worry and support you during this important milestone. We have the resources to help you and your child succeed at school. Their well-being is our top priority, and we will do everything we can to ensure they have a safe space to learn and to grow. Kindergarten is the first step in your child's educational journey, and together we'll make sure the journey starts on the right foot. Welcome to Thames Valley.
It's my pleasure to introduce the Educator Team this evening who will be taking you through our tour of the kindergarten program. I'd like to introduce Cheryl Duffett, early childhood educator, and of course Belinda Graham, an OCT teacher. And this evening, they will take you through the wonderful world of kindergarten.
So hello, my name is Belinda Graham, and I'm a certified Ontario teacher. And with that comes background knowledge in curriculum from kindergarten to grade 8. So as part of the Educator team, I have lots of knowledge about assessment, planning activities, and working alongside my co-educator in the classroom. Together, we both understand the importance of those relationships and how they are at the heart of the kindergarten program. So not only do we work together as an educator team, but we work together as a team with you, listening to the voices of the children, gathering that input from the families in kindergarten, so that we can start those children off with those strong foundational skills that they will need for the rest of their schooling.
Great, and I'm Cheryl Duffett. I'm a registered early childhood educator, and I work in the classroom with the classroom teacher, and our roles complement each other. My background includes an education on child development and on assessment and on documentation, and these skills allow me to work cooperatively with the teacher in the classroom to provide an excellent learning environment for your children. Our background on children includes a philosophy that encompasses the whole child, all of their learning socially, emotionally, physically, and cognitively. This allows us to provide activities that encourage that child's whole wellness.
And as Cheryl was kind of talking about, that focus on the development of the whole child, the 4 frames of the kindergarten program really do reflect that. They reflect that integrated way in which young children learn. And those 4 frames, which we'll have the chance to explore a little bit later, include belonging and contributing, self-regulation and well-being, demonstrating mathematics and literacy behaviors, along with problem solving and innovating. These 4 frames grew out of the Ontario Child Cares framework, How Does Learning Happen? And there are 4 conditions to learning. So it really is a great continuum that will see children from their youngest learning into school and then as they progress.
Absolutely. And the flow of the day in kindergarten, the day is more less of a schedule and more of a flow of the day, which allows children to know, a visual schedule like this allows children to know how their day is going to progress and what to expect next. And the reason that we have the flow of the day is to minimize a lot of transitions that could be tricky for children and allow deeper learning to happen during longer periods of play in the classroom. This learning can look like a bunch of different things, from individual play, open play with friends. It can look like large group situations, small group times, one-on-one with an educator, outdoor learning, learning in other areas of the school as well. So now we are going to watch a video. This video features a lovely, lovely family, people like you that have a child at home who is going to start school for the first time. These parents, like you, maybe were unsure of what their child's school experience was going to look like. And you'll listen to them talk about how the school and the educator team and the classroom worked to alleviate some of those concerns and those worries.
I was excited, but I think we were a little bit apprehensive because of the unfolding pandemic and the first time in class school for him, not knowing what it's going to be like.
We weren't sure what the day-to-day would look like. We weren't sure about many things, but we decided that it was just an exciting time and we should embrace it.
Yeah.
Welcome to kindergarten and to the Thames Valley District School Board. We are so excited to welcome your child into our kindergarten classroom this fall. I'm betting that you might feel a little bit nervous about sending your child to kindergarten for the first time. We want you to be reassured. Our classes are places where children thrive. They learn in safe, caring, and welcoming environments with a school and educator team that puts students first. You might be wondering what to expect when you send your child to kindergarten. We want to assure you that we are going to support you along the way.
It was rough at first. Our little boy did not want to go to school. He was intimidated by the playground, but we had an amazing set of teachers in EC, the educator team, in our classroom, and they welcomed our son into the room amazingly. It took him a little bit longer, I'd say about a month, 6 weeks, but he loves going to school now. He loves being with his friends and being able to play and then coming to us at the end of the day. I definitely think the transition was made easier because of how supportive our educator team was.
It's awesome to see him come home and tell you about what he learned, even if it was something that wasn't huge, just the little bits of information that he comes home with. Tells you all about it, makes a difference.
If you look inside one of our kindergarten classes, this is what you can expect to see. You will see warm and inviting learning spaces designed with elements of discovery. You will see small groups of tables organized for children to build relationships and learn with and from each other. Our kindergarten classrooms also extend to the outdoors. Your child's natural curiosity and sense of wonder will be fostered as educator teams provide them with many opportunities to play, explore, and learn in the outdoor environment.
We were initially a little bit apprehensive about mask wearing in the classroom too. We weren't sure how our child would adapt to that. It's a new thing, a new concept, and with hand hygiene and stuff like that. The educator teams in our classroom were able to provide our son with the terms in their language and explanations in ways that they would understand that would make it safe for them to feel comfortable in their classroom. Our son comes home and he tells us about how he has to wear a mask for certain situations and how that's the expectation and it's just normal for them. They removed that abnormality from it that you would assume would be there.
They made it okay. They made it normal.
Which I think is important.
Yeah.
Your child will be encouraged to talk and investigate, and our skilled teachers and early childhood educators will help them along the way as they learn early literacy and numeracy skills. You will see your child grow and develop as they share their learning and experiences throughout the year.
Do what works for you. For us, it was friends, independence, routine.
Routine was huge. The idea of establishing a routine with our child was key, and working with the educator teams to express your concerns. They heard our concerns, they acknowledged our concerns, and they worked with us to make sure that our son felt comfortable going to school. I think that was a big one.
They could offer things to him that we couldn't.
The partnership you have with your educator team is something that we value. If there is something that you would like the school or classroom to know about your child, please don't hesitate to share. Family relationships are a key foundation to the kindergarten program. We can't wait to say, welcome to kindergarten.
There has definitely been some highlights that stuck out in our mind. I think one of the biggest ones was when he made his first friend, and he just came home so excited and told us all about him, and then the next day on the playground he's like, I'm looking for my friend, and he was so excited.
Yeah, I think for me it was the independence. When he got to the yard, he just took off and went to play with his friends, where before that it would be stay with me and wait till the bell and bring me to the classroom. And then he just took off. He grew up.
Hi there, I'm Pam Van Bakel, and I'm here as part of our kindergarten team to represent another member that you may see in your child's classroom, and that's the kindergarten specialty teacher. So this teacher is another person who sees your child daily, and they will be involved in programming and documenting your child's learning, as well as reporting on the learning at the end of the reporting terms. I also want to mention that the kindergarten specialty teacher often takes care of outdoor education while they're with your child. Not every school, however, they each get a chance to choose their own at their own school. Each school decides what they're going to be having their specialty teacher teach. However, it's often outdoor ed. So going back to the 4 frames that Belinda and Cheryl mentioned, I am here in this classroom's dramatic play area. And as you can see behind me, it's set up like a house center currently. In the belonging and contributing frame of our document, one of the 4 frames, we often talk about the relationships and look at having positive and respectful relationships with the people around you. So whether it's at school, at home, or in your community. As you can see behind me here, this educator team has decided to highlight the families of these students. And so they've done artwork together to create a warm and inviting space for their families. So learning within this frame also provides children with a chance to express their ideas, discover their strengths, collaborate with others, and develop relationships. And as I mentioned with our artwork behind us, it also includes expectations that are related to the arts. So when the educators are thinking about teaching and learning within this frame, they think, how do children see themselves reflected in the activities, the materials, and the documentation in the room? Are there opportunities for the children to make choices, have a voice, and share their ideas with others? And is that classroom a safe environment where children and educators feel respected, are able to take risks, and work collaboratively to solve problems and explore new learning? So now we'll move over to Cheryl, who will explain another frame of our document.
So self-regulation and well-being is central to a child's capacity to learn. It's the cornerstone of development and an important building block in early learning. Children's ability to self-regulate or to set limits for themselves and manage their own attention, behavior, and emotions allows them to develop emotional well-being and the habits of mind such as perseverance and curiosity that are essential for early learning and set the stage for lifelong learning. Self-regulation skills also allow children to have positive social interactions and help establish constructive patterns of behavior that will serve them for their entire lives. Some children will have begun to develop self-regulation before they come to kindergarten, but many will not. That's okay. Through their interactions with peers, with the adults in the classroom, Children will develop self-awareness and a stronger sense of self. As part of this process, they will monitor and adapt their own emotions and behavior and become aware of and accommodate the thinking and feeling of others. Educators play an important role in promoting children's well-being and by creating, fostering, and maintaining a learning environment that is healthy, caring, safe, inclusive, and accepting. So you can see that here in this area of the classroom, you can see that they have done some brainstorming about what cooperation is. This listening to other people's ideas is one way that children develop self-regulation. Another way is by exploring emotions on something like a light table and using loose parts to do this. Even in the cubby area, the children will develop a sense of their own self, of their belongings, and how to take care of them, and also how to share space with other children. So a learning environment of this kind supports children's cognitive, emotional, social, and physical development, and also their mental health, their resilience, and their overall wellness. So now we're going to turn it over to Belinda to talk about literacy and mathematic behavior.
So as Cheryl mentioned, another one of our frames is demonstrating literacy and mathematics behaviors. In kindergarten, literacy and mathematics activities are woven throughout the day. Children will experience various concepts related to numeracy and literacy in both direct instruction, small group instruction, and even in play. As you can see on this table, we have some fun dice where children can play games. Again, Cheryl was talking about those loose parts earlier. They're great for counting and patterning. So having these invitations and provocations set out in the classroom really allow children to access that learning and practice those concepts in authentic and meaningful ways for them. Each educator uses their understanding of children's unique skills and background knowledge to really plan intentional provocations, invitations, and lessons that meet children where they are at. Within the kindergarten program, we really want to recognize those skills and those experiences that children bring to the classroom and help the children grow and progress through the 2-year program at their own pace. In kindergarten, in the demonstrating literacy and mathematics frame, children will explore things like early counting concepts, learning about quantity, talking about size, capacity, explore shapes, and even learn how to collect data management with their peers through class-wide tallies and questions. They'll also learn more about oral language, how they can use it to express their own thoughts and ideas to others, and they will also start to make those connections between letters and sounds as they become independent readers and writers. I will now pass it on to Pam, who's going to talk about the final frame.
All right, thanks, Belinda. So finally, our 4th frame is the problem solving and innovating frame. And this frame supports collaborative problem solving and bringing innovative ideas to relationships with others. As we know throughout our day, we are all faced with problems. So this frame really spans so many of the different areas of their day, from perhaps solving a minor problem with a friend or deciding what to build with a group of people. So in connection with this frame, educators consider the problem solving that can happen in a variety of contexts, and not only in math and science. It's important to provide children with opportunities to apply creative, analytical, and critical thinking skills throughout the day and in many situations. By allowing children these opportunities, they will gain confidence in applying these skills throughout their lives. So the focus of this frame is exploring the world with natural curiosity, using innovative ways of thinking and applying these ideas when forming relationships, using materials, and interacting with the environment, and making meaning of their world by asking questions, testing, problem solving, and engaging in creative and analytical ways of thinking. I'm standing here in their discovery section of their classroom, and behind me, one way they can solve problems and be innovative is through small world play. As you can see here, it's currently set up with animals and gives children a chance to interact together while playing. We also have a variety of building tools here such as large tubes and soft boulders that many of our kindergarten classrooms have in them. Outside of our classroom, there's a lot of learning that also happens out in our kindergarten yard, or perhaps just in your schoolyard, depending on what school you're at and what that might look like there. So often students spend time with their educators outside beyond a recess time in the day. And so that's why it's so important to make sure your child comes ready to be outside, and so they can explore the natural world and take their learning outside. So now we're going to head over to Belinda, who's going to give us a tour of the TVDSB website and the resources there.
All right, good evening. We are going to take a quick look at some of those digital resources that are available to families and caregivers looking for more information about Thames Valley and some of the programs and resources that we offer. So the Thames Valley District School Board's website contains many resources to support all children and students and families enrolled in Thames Valley schools. To access information about the kindergarten program, you will want to click on the Parent tab. Scroll over here, right here. And then you're going to go down and find the kindergarten program. On this page, you will find information about kindergarten registration. Sorry, I'm going to scroll down there. And board-wide events related to children enrolled in Thames Valley kindergarten classrooms. There's our link for the registration there. So if you have not yet had the chance to register, go to that Parents tab, click on Kindergarten, and then right here, how to register, follow those steps right there online. On this site, families and caregivers can also find information about the kindergarten program, play-based learning, and the communication of learning, which is that report card that your child will receive at 3 different points in the year. We have also included 4 videos that give you a peek inside a few classrooms. This will allow you to see how children are engaged in learning throughout the day, both indoors and outdoors. If we go back over to the side menu, I am sorry. Oh, at the top there, sorry. You will see the Welcome to Kindergarten tab. By clicking on the Welcome to Kindergarten tab, you can access many resources to help support that transition to school. On this site, we have the digital resource called Getting Ready for Kindergarten. This resource has been translated into several languages and can be great to review with your child as you prepare them to enter school in the fall. The Thames Valley speech and language pathologists have also created a resource called Rock the Talk. Developing oral language skills will be an ongoing process during your child's 2 years in kindergarten. Rock the Talk provides families with some helpful tips and resources that can be done at home. That comes in a PDF and a video for you to watch as well. On the side menu, you might also notice a tab called Early Years Programs. By clicking on the Early Years tab, you will find more information about all the community partners that work with Thames Valley. These include Early On in Childhood Family Centers. They provide free parent, caregiver, and child drop-in programs, referrals, and resources. Specific links to the Early On programs in your community will be posted on your school's website. There's some of those locations for our Early Ons. You can also find information on this tab about before and after school care providers. Sorry. Before and after school
providers are specific to the locations of your schools, so contact your school for more information about before and after school programs. So when you have a few minutes, you might want to take the time to explore the earlier section, the parents section, the kindergarten program, and the Welcome to Kindergarten tab on the Thames Valley District School Board's website. So we are lucky to be at East Carling tonight, sharing all the wonderful things your child might see and do when they begin school in the fall. Another great resource families can access to learn more about the school is the school's website. These websites contain specific information and links, so we're going to take a quick look at East Carling's. Under the Our School tab, on all school websites, you will find the Welcome to Kindergarten page. Each school will have their own unique information to help support families and children as they transition to school. Some schools might have all of their information on one page, or they might provide links to other pages like East Carling has done. Each school will have a video or PowerPoint that shares about their school's routines, educators, and the kindergarten program. Across the top here, you can see that East Carling has also created separate sections for school messenger, attendance, busing, parking, and their kiss and ride zone. Schools will also provide more information about what children will need to bring to school during their first few days. East Carling has listed some possible suggestions to help parents as they prepare those back to school shopping lists. Things such as maybe indoor shoes, extra clothing, backpacks, and their policy about toys. And of course, that importance about dressing for outdoor play. So along with exploring the Thames Valley's main website, we encourage you to take some time and visit your school's specific website. And now we will go back to the educator team for some questions and answers.
Great, thanks, Belinda. So yeah, now we're going to take a few moments to answer some of the questions that have been submitted. You had a chance to submit questions when you registered for this event. So we do have a list of frequently asked questions from that list. And we're also taking questions live as our event is going on. Please use the chat function to enter your question in, not the raise hand. Write it down in the chat, please, and thank you. So I'm going to get us started with a couple of our frequently asked questions. Of course, this is on everybody's mind, that first day of school. What does that look like? So thinking about this year in particular, our first day of school for any child in our board would be Wednesday, September 7th. Often it's the Tuesday, but this year, no student will be starting before the Wednesday, September 7th. And each school has their own way of deciding who's going to come on what day, but your child may come on Wednesday, September 7th. They may start the 8th, or they may start the 9th. Those are the three options that may be offered from your school. However, your school will give you that information well in advance, so you know that and know how to be prepared to send your child off on their first day. Another question, and again, another thing that's on everybody's mind, what does my child need to start school? So again, we start to see those flyers at the end of the summer, and we start to think, what do we need pencil crayons? Do we need glue? What do we need to take to school for my child? We'd like you to start with just the basics, and your school will tell you if you need anything else. So your basics would be a backpack that your child can carry, and we do ask you to please make sure that it's an appropriate size for your child that they can carry, and yet it's big enough that it can fit a lunch pail, a communication bag of some sort. The school will send a communication bag often back and forth, so make sure you have room for that. You'd want to bring a water bottle, a refillable water bottle, send that with your child. And extra clothes, just in case there was ever an accident or a spill at school, you want to send a set of extra clothes, including socks, and indoor shoes for your child to wear while they're indoors at school. And after all of that, please make sure you label the belongings, just in case we end up with 2 lunch pails, 2 sets of shoes that look the same. It's always helpful to have their name on there.
Great, thanks, Pam. Yeah, you can imagine if you have a number of children in your classroom in the 20s, then it's hard to keep track of all of their belongings. Absolutely. Another question that we get asked frequently is about washroom routines and what happens there. So children in kindergarten have access to washrooms. Sometimes those washrooms are inside their classroom, and sometimes they are nearby in the hall. Educators will plan washroom breaks into the daily routines and encourage children to use the washroom before going outside, during eating breaks, before assemblies, and during trips, going on trips. So educators respect each child's development in relation to their ability to be independent in the washroom. We recognize that starting school for the first time can be stressful for children and that they may experience situations where they require a change in clothes. A second pair of clothes helps support children should their clothes become soiled or wet, as Pam mentioned, having extra clothes. To support children's transition to kindergarten and respect their dignity, it is very helpful to support your child in the coming months with independence in the washroom. Helping them notice when their body needs to go to the washroom, teaching them to wipe themselves clean, and pulling down and pulling up their own underwear or pull-ups or whatever is going to be helpful skills for them to be able to take care of themselves and to not experience any kind of stress in the washroom. Another question that we get asked a lot about is, how am I going to communicate with my child's school? And so there's lots of ways to do that. Each school, as Belinda said, has their own website, and they have a phone number on that website, and you can call that number and speak to lots of different people at the school, including the secretary, the principal, if there's a vice principal, and you can always ask to leave a message for your child's educators. Another thing that schools use is School Messenger, which once your child's registered, probably in the summer, you will gain access to School Messenger. And this is an electronic system that all schools use to be able to communicate with families and with caregivers. You can use School Messenger to get updates on things that are changing in the school or things that children need to do. You might get notices if it's a special kind of day at school, or if they want children to bring in something special. And you can always call the school if your child is going to be absent as well. That's important. TVDSB also has access to translator services in many different languages to help reduce communication barriers. School staff can help families access phone and in-person translators to provide support for school events or meetings, and this includes sign language interpreters.
All right. That ongoing communication in school, we know is such an important thing. So like Pam said, we might have that communication bag. Call your school. That School Messenger is a great tool. Educators will often use that sometimes to share some of the documentation and learning that's happening in the classroom too. We also had a lot of questions around busing, because we do know we have lots of children and students that ride the bus. So really, for that specific information about busing, you will need to contact your child's school directly. They can provide you with that information about routes and that contact for My Big Yellow School Bus, which is that online hub for all Southwestern Ontario's transportation. So all school boards use that within our area for the busing. There were also many questions about how children will be picked up at buses at the start of the day, and how will we make sure that they get on those correct buses at the end of the day. So really, Each school will have their own well-established routines and procedures to ensure that all children are safely picked up in the morning and then sent home on the correct bus at the end of each day. The bus company provides bus tags that can be attached to your child's backpack with their bus number on it. And this really helps staff and students ensure that they are getting on that correct bus each night. The bus drivers and the school will again also have kind of those school-specific procedures for where those youngest learners will sit in the bus to make sure that they really have the most safe and comfortable ride to and from school every day. So there's lots of great resources there. But again, if you're looking for specific bus routes or bus times, the best thing is to touch base with your local school you've enrolled your child in. Again, we also did receive lots of questions about pickup and drop off because as we know, many children will be walking, maybe getting drives with their family, their caregivers, or a childcare provider. So again, each school really has their own specific entry and dismissal areas. And this information will be shared with families during their school's Welcome to Kindergarten sessions. After the first few days of school, though, you and your child will become familiar with the educators at the school, the dismissal and the pickup and the drop-off area, and that will really help smooth the transition over time as you get used to that. Again, children's safety is our top priority, and children will not be released to people, will only be released to people that families and caregivers have identified. Again, if there's changes to that pickup or that dismissal routine, we ask that you touch base with the school in a timely manner just to ensure that the message gets to your child's educator so that, again, we make that smooth transition from school to home, from home to school. We know that it can always look a little bit hectic at the end of the day, but be well assured that educators will practice these transitions and routines with your child, and they always have that safety in mind. And of course, we always want to have that time at the yard or at the door at the end of the day to share maybe some of those great moments that your child has done at school that day. All right, and now I think we're going to pass it along to some of those questions from the chat.
So, what are the expectations for families when packing snacks and lunches?
Okay, so what are the expectations for families when packing snacks and lunches? So depending on the school, most schools are what is called a balanced day. And so that means that there are actually 2 nutrition breaks. Some schools are on something called a traditional day, which would mean that there's 1 main lunch break and 2 potential snack breaks. Some schools put in an extra snack time depending on if children are hungry. But packing lunches would look like essentially having enough snacks and food for that child to have throughout the day. Of course, we encourage healthy eating as part of our well-being and just learning about different kinds of food that children are going to experience. But whatever you send your child, just make sure that you send them enough to kind of have throughout the day.
And we always kind of encourage to, again, that independence. If you're thinking about those snacks and those containers, what are things that your child can open independently on their own? What are some of those favorite foods that you know they're really going to like to eat? You want to make sure you're packing those in their lunches and their snacks as well.
Absolutely. And of course, we're always there to help open those
Yes.
containers and things. But working towards independence is always great, and children always feel really successful when they are able to learn a new skill. So you can practice that throughout the summer as a fun game.
Yeah. One other note you might want to mention is our schools are often nut free, so that's probably be something that will be touched upon during your Welcome to Kindergarten, or if there's other allergies that you need to be aware of in your child's class.
Flexibility schedule. Is there an option to have their child attend half days or 2 to 3 full days per week?
Okay.
I think, well, with the kindergarten program, we really want to promote that full day, every day learning, understanding, that each child has their own unique, abilities and getting used to coming to school and their own anxieties. specific schedules like that, again, I think would be something that we would want to talk about maybe with your school that you registered at, maybe touching base with the educator teams. But again, we really want to promote that full day of learning for the children. We try to keep that flexible schedule so that, again, we are meeting those needs of the children within the classroom. So again, maybe scheduling in more of those breaks, more of those free play times, depending on the children we have in our classroom.
We really want to make that experience for your child to be meaningful, and we want them to experience kindergarten in the best way that they can. So it's really, really important to work with the school, to talk to the educator team, and work through some of those challenges that your child might be having. But at the end of the day, we want your child to enjoy coming to school, and if we have to have some flexibility around that to ease your child into kindergarten, then we'll certainly work with your family. So it's really important to communicate with the educator team, to communicate with the principal, and we'll work together to make that transition to kindergarten as successful as possible to meet your child's needs.
Just a reminder to repeat the question because I don't have it on. Just so
Sorry.
Okay. So when will families be contacted for a transition meeting for children that have disability?
So we will start to have the Welcome to Kindergarten process in the month of May. And at that point, we will start to reach out to families. We will start to have those conversations. We may have those transition meetings in June, or they may take place in August. But again, we will reach out to you. We will work with you. And please don't hesitate to call your school and start to have those conversations now. So we will make a transition that works for your child.
Will children, parents, and whoever get a chance to tour their kindergarten classroom and meet their teacher in advance of September?
So the question is, will the children and parents and caregivers have a chance to tour classrooms and meet their child's educators prior to September? So each school is going to be having an in-person welcome to kindergarten kind of orientation event that families and caregivers will be invited to. At that time, depending on when that is, the families may get a chance to either physically see the classroom or at least virtually see that classroom through pictures. Now, class placements are not always made in advance of September, so that would mean that the child would not know which educators they have until September, in most cases.
We are really excited for the first time in 2 years that we're going to be able to welcome you into our schools in person. So we're really looking forward to that, to having you and your child to have that opportunity to actually be in the school, experience a kindergarten classroom, and learn more about the kindergarten program specific to your school.
Mm-hmm.
Special introduction, is there any for children who have English as a second language or who do not speak English at all?
So again, what we'll do is that we will start to reach out to the families. We know that when you registered, if you had shared any special information around being an English language learner, so then we will work with you to support you and your child. So again, what I can't emphasize enough with our educator teams and our schools that we are so excited to have you starting kindergarten. So we will work with you and we'll meet all those needs that you have, but it's really important to talk to us, and we'll reach out to you as well and to share your concerns that you have, and we'll work together to make that transition as smooth as possible.
What's the maximum number of kids in a classroom? What's the ratio in kindergarten of teacher to kids?
Okay, so you wanted to ask about the size of our classrooms. So we have a maximum of, we have to, across Thames Valley and across the province, we have to have an average size of 26 across the valley. So you could have classrooms as high as 29, but with a class with 29, you will always have a teacher and an ECE in that class. And any classes that are 15 or less, there will just be the teacher. But again, we have really experienced educators who'll be working with your child. They work as a team, and they will make that transition as smooth as possible.
Are the schools garbage free? Meaning, will lunch garbage be separate with the child?
So the question was about lunch garbage, and of course we want to encourage those reusable, refillable containers. Some schools are eco schools, and usually it would be more of like a school initiative. However, we do have recycling, we have garbage cans. Some schools have pilot projects for composting. So again, it could be something your child's class might want to look into as a project, but we do offer recycling and garbage containers so children don't have to bring garbage back. I know sometimes if food is not eaten, educators might send that home just because we don't want to see that go to waste or to let families know, but garbage is definitely disposed of within the classroom.
Is there a rest period for kids?
So the question is there a rest period for kids? And no, there is not a specific rest period that has to be a part of your kindergarten program. However, some educators may incorporate more of a quiet or mindfulness time during their day to give your child a chance to kind of experience a slower pace in the day. Often we find that as the day goes on, children become a little tired. And so I often find that educators might put that in towards the end of the day to give them kind of a little bit of a calming down time before heading home.
And when we talked about the flow of the day, we talked that there's lots of flexibility in terms of when things are happening, what children are doing, and it's all based on the needs of the children. Each class generally has a sort of calming or quiet area where children can go to rest. We realize that coming to school for 7 hours is a long time for our little friends to be fully awake and aware, and sometimes children stay up late or they're not feeling 100%. And those times, definitely, they'd have an opportunity to take some rest.
How is discipline handled?
Okay, so the question is, how is discipline handled?
So as like Cheryl shared before, one of those 4 frames is that self-regulation and well-being. So we really work together to co-regulate alongside children, teach them how to label those emotions, those calming techniques. How can we deal with those big emotions? And again, as Pam shared about the problem solving, how can we work through those social problems together as a class, individually, or with the educators in the team? So we really look at those moments as teaching moments, opportunities. We build those relationships with children so that we can help them, self-regulate or calm when they need to. We offer those quiet, calming break spaces. Really is built into our programming.
Absolutely. And there's like, we always talk about our environment as being a third educator in the room. And that's really true. So when we make sure that there's enough materials for multiple children to play so that there's not as many arguments about who had what first. And in terms of the calming techniques and breathing techniques that we teach for self-regulation, we practice those when children aren't in a crisis mode, when they're not agitated or upset, so that then when they become upset, when something upsets them, they're more likely to be able to use those effectively.
I think it's also important to reiterate what Glenn has mentioned too. If there is a specific concern or something we can work on proactively, that talking to your educators and contacting the school would also be another option.
Mm-hmm.
At what point would I be filling out forms about an allergy that requires an EpiPen as an example? Would that happen prior to the first day?
Okay, so the question is, at what point would you fill out information sheet about an allergy or medical condition?
So I believe that would come with your part of the registration process, or if you contact your school, they will give you those forms to complete so that you can send that medication and everything on that first day of school. So the best thing would be to call your school, have them send you that form so you can provide them with all that important information, and then your child is ready to go on that first day of school.
So during that first month of September, any child that has an allergy or has a special medical condition, that would be called an individual plan of care. And so that gets filled out at every school. So we will work with you on that. So again, as we've talked about, there will be that opportunity when you come for the Welcome to Kindergarten, and an opportunity for you to be able to share those needs, and then we will work with you to put a plan in place to support your child.
And the individual plan of care is also shared with every educator that is involved with your child. So if it's the specialty educator, or you go to another spot to the gym or whatever, then those educators also have that information about your child in order to keep your child safe.
Are JKSK kids ever in portables?
Okay, so the question is, are JKSK kids ever in portables?
That would not be our practice to put any JKSK students in portables. In the majority of our schools, we have purposely built kindergarten classrooms, and so they are set up very much like this, but it would not be our practice to put JKSK students in portables.
When children have accidents, is the expectation that they change into their clothes, new clothes, clean clothes on their own, or will they be assisted?
Okay, so the question is about if a child has a bathroom accident, will they be expected to change into their own clothes, or would someone help them? And the answer is that all children are learning to become self-reliant, and that is our eventual goal. But we realize that children don't come to us with that, and that zippers and waistbands and leggings, that those can all be very tricky to do. And especially if there's a mess, then that's even harder to deal with that. So the short answer is no, they're not expected to do that all by themselves, that the educator team would help them to just make sure that they feel okay and that their dignity is maintained at all times.
Hot lunch, pizza days, are those options for kindergartens in September?
So the question was about hot lunches and pizza days, and I think we're all excited to see the return of hot lunches and pizza days. I know myself, packing lunches, right? So yeah, kindergartens would be participating in any school-wide event. They're just as much a part of the school as the grade 1 to 8. So things like hot lunches, pizza lunches, fundraisers, they would be a part of that. And again, your school would send that information out through their school messenger. And then when you have that opportunity to sign up for the parent portal, you would find more information about how to make those purchases for those hot lunches and pizza days.
Last question, and then we can turn to the video. With students that have speech delays and will need something like Type Talk, at what point does that start being implemented in the classroom?
So again, what will happen in September is the educator teams will get to know your child, and they will learn about their strengths and any challenges they might have. And then it's really important that as a family that you communicate with the school, and the educator teams will be communicating with you as well. And we will put in whatever supports we need to do to support your child. So it may, for many of our children, it's transitioning to kindergarten, so they need a little time to kind of figure out how things operate. And then we will work with you if we need to put some extra supports in place.
A really quick one. Can they only have a cold lunch? For example, if a child had a hot lunch, is there a spot for them to be able to heat their lunch up at school?
Okay, so the question is about heating up lunches at school. And you can appreciate that with 26 children in a class, and oftentimes like the educator needs to stay in the class, and we don't have microwaves in the classrooms. So children are welcome to bring thermal containers to hold warm things, and those things can be with soup or noodles or rice or chicken nuggets, whatever. Those things all can come in thermal containers, but we are not able to heat up a child's lunch for them.
So look forward to the video. If you wanted to just remind families about how their school will be contacting us.
Yeah, exactly. So before we take you to a final video to close out the evening, we just really want to thank you for attending this evening. And if you have further questions that weren't answered this evening, specifically to your child, please don't hesitate to reach out to your school. And then also, if you have a general question, please don't hesitate to post that on the kindergarten website, and we'll respond to that. But please stay tuned during the month of May and June. You will be invited to a welcome to kindergarten session at your school. So please stay tuned for that. We're just starting to put all those plans together, and I know our schools are so excited to welcome you to kindergarten and to be able to do it in person. So before we finish out this evening, we'd like to show you a video. And this is a video that is of 3 English language learner families, so parents and their children, who want to spend a little bit of time this evening to share with you their experiences in kindergarten this year. And it just really emphasizes the fact that they felt a part of the community, but they also had some anxiety about starting school. So I think it's really important to hear some families who started school for the first time this year, English language learners, and how they were made to feel a part of the community and how they became part of the community. So again, we just really want to thank you for being a part of our evening. And please don't hesitate to reach out to your school as we start to make those plans for September.
Hi, I'm Sifat Kaur. Today we're going to learn about the school. School is fun. You get to play, you get to do everything, you get to do craft. Just be great and listen to your teacher.
Every September, families new to Canada enroll their children at Thames Valley schools. We are happy to share the experiences of 3 families as they reflect on their children's first years in kindergarten.
At the beginning, I actually felt excited and worried at the same time because this is my first daughter going to school. This is a whole new experience for her. Worried a little bit because she was a late talker. So I was really like how she's going to do in the school, how she's gonna communicate with her teachers and friends. I was really worried, waiting for Miss Gomis to call me and to say like everything is okay. And I got that call and I was really like relieved that everything was going okay. Salma is doing great. Even it's, her first time and, this big thing, school thing. She used to attend the daycare and then she's now in the big school. But yeah, everything was perfect and I was really happy.
The transition to kindergarten for my daughter and it has been positive and smooth. We have felt welcome at Eagle Heights. The community is diverse, warm, and friendly. We love a sense of the community at Eagle Heights.
TVDSP staff has been always supportive and helpful. I've seen, like in my daughter, she was earlier very shy, but the staff has helped a lot. Her kindergarten teachers, she has got rid of shyness, which I can clearly see in her interactions around the people and with the peers as well. Highlights have been her communication skills and the way she has embraced the multilingual learners and the environment. She's very happy to talk to, share her stories with the multicultural friends.
For me, her speech or her language developed a lot, improved, and she has now some friends, and she tells us about her friends, what happened with her in the school, and that's great. That didn't happen when she was in daycare, and yeah, that's maybe the best part now.
I would say, like, don't be afraid of this experience. Like, I really encourage parents to like register their children in the kindergarten because this year it's really important year. It's the foundation year for their academic journey.
I love to play with
Oh.
Anavia.
Oh wow.
Some highlights to the program for kindergarten include lots of work at centers using hand-on materials like puzzles, Play-Doh, and crafts. And my daughter is also learning to print and read. The outdoor education program. The class get to go outside and play in the garden every day. They have a good activity outside, so they enjoy.
As a parent, I'm glad to see the progress which I've witnessed in these 2 years. And as a teacher, I see the readiness in her for more formal and structured learning for grade 1. So I'm all pro about kindergarten program.
I feel happy to come to school because I have a lot of my favorite toys. Register for kindergarten!